Hey guys, Kelade here. Quick update on how Fury is doing since Fury Warriors finally received a buff worth mentioning. On the patch reset, Blizzard put out a bit of a spec and Azerite tuning, and Fury Warriors ended up receiving a 6% damage buff. Unfortunately, Reckless Flurry was nerfed, so the buff won't seem as great if you're running those traits, but not to worry, even if you were running 3 out of 3 Reckless Flurry, the overall buff to you would have been around 2% damage increase. What this change means for Fury is that it will be ahead of Arms in single target, but since there was no mechanical change in how the spec works and functions, it will still have really lackluster AoE burst. So for fights where you can be competitive as Fury would be Talak and Mother, since those are more single target focused fights. Zek'voz, which is a fight that you're currently seeing, could also work if your raid doesn't have crazy AoE burst to where the small warrior adds die instantly, since the Fury warrior can AoE 24/7. If we can just get some sort of mechanical change to Fury on our AoE, then we can start being more competitive in the raid. Whether that's to remove the 5 target cap that our Whirlwind Cleave allows us to hit, making Blaze Storm baseline and making it be reduced by anger management like Arms has, having some type of burst AoE that hits all targets with a dot or bleed like Odin's Fury or Bloodbath, or even talent that greatly buffs Whirlwind like the legendary Belton Legion. Fury Warriors just can't compete in AoE when the targets reach greater than 5. Currently, there is no world where we even come close to Warbreaker plus Blaze Storm that Arms can do. As far as for Azerite traits, while in the Odir raid, you always want at least one of the raid trait. So that's either Laser Matrix or Archive of the Titans. They're both pretty similar, and you mainly just want to make sure you have the Re-Origination Array buff, since this gets stronger week by week. You have to kill 3 random bosses within the raid each week, and then you'll permanently get an additional stack. So you'll eventually hit 10 stacks on week 10 of the raid being out, which will be the maximum amount of stacks that you can have, and this will give you 750 in your highest secondary stat. And ideally for Fury, this would be haste. As far as for the other 2 Azerite pieces, Reckless Flurry is no longer leaps and bounds above the other traits anymore, and you're most likely just going to wear the Azerite piece with the highest eye level and just have to sim which of those 2 traits is stronger. I have a feeling that a side component to why Reckless Flurry got nerfed is that it was actually pretty strong of a trait for both Prod and Arms, and by nerfing it, it makes it still okay for Fury, but pretty bad for the other 2 specs. As far as for what stands at the top now, things like Razan's Fury, Dagger in the Back, Reckless Flurry, Champions of Azeroth are all pretty close, and it's okay to even have just one Simmering Rage. The second ring of Azerite traits will also matter, since if the first Azerite traits are pretty close, then whichever one has overwhelming power will just win, since haste is king for Fury at the moment. Of course, since some Azerite traits just give you secondary stats, their value will change for your particular character based on your own gear. For talents, nothing changes from the Fury guide I had previously. You're still going to run these talents for single target, and for AoE, you can change it up based on your preference. If you really hate running Fury Slash or Siegebreaker, you can change to Sudden Death or Reckless Abandon. On my character, it seems to be a 200 DPS loss on single target going from Sudden Death to Fury Slash, and a 100 DPS loss on single target going from Siegebreaker to Reckless Abandon. There was also a hidden nerf to the bleed weapon Gatiku from King's Rest a few weeks ago, where the proc rate seems to no longer scale with haste. I'm not sure why this wasn't communicated to us in any hotfix or patch notes, but it happened, and the valid weapon got weaker, though it will most likely still win over other weapons of the same eye level. Overall, the buff that Fury received was a much needed one, but we're still a ways off from being at the top. Arms still has better AoE burst, better 2-target cleave, shorter and stronger cooldowns. There are very few things that Fury can be Arms in the moment. If you're doing normal or heroic raids or farming content, then Fury is definitely fine to play. But if you're doing progression at the moment, Arms will generally be stronger in the current raid. Hopefully that kind of helped you guys put in some perspective how the buffs does affect Fury. And as always, thanks for checking out the video guys. Feel free to subscribe to see more. See ya.